There seems to be an awful lot of sad stories in the news today, and there are thousands missing. Does anybody care? We built a channel where we talk about those faces. Talking News with Debbie. Custody battles have still not been found, and it's been 2 years since her case first hit the spotlight. Breaking. Vallow Daybell and Vallow both behind bars. Sarah Galloway was found. She wasn't found alive. What happened to Sarah Galloway?
It's too heartbreaking to share.
Children are still missing. Children like Dorsey. You're in shame. You just got away with it. Welcome to Talking News. Hello everyone. My name is Debbie. We use big stories to push little faces.
Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murder Talking News. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell. Especially if you would like to see more podcasts and videos. My name is Debbie, guys, and I welcome you to my channel. And also, I want to mention that the Life Beyond the Grave series, it's so detailed and so huge, I'm just going to have to make it a podcast or audio only. I don't even know if we can finish it doing it that way. I have a massive amount of information, and the information continues to come in every single day on this case. Make sure, if you don't know the story, to jump back to Life Beyond the Grave Part 1. Right now, we are on Part 24. Life Beyond the Grave, the Lori Vallow case. Now we know that Joseph Ryan and Lori Vallow, they have been going through this horrid divorce, and I'm going to skip those details because there's so much in that. But one thing you need to know is, during 2002 through 2018, they continued to struggle with their relationship and sharing the custody of Tylee. Tylee Ryan is actually hospitalized for pancreas and also conditions that they don't understand. Guardians of Tylee believe that possibly it's because of the stress that she's enduring, especially in her mother's care and between the bickering between the two parents. But we know that Lori Vallow is having a difficult time actually coming to her senses and sharing her custody of Tylee with her ex-husband Joseph Ryan. In fact, in court records it says that she fails to follow court orders. She refuses to let Joseph Ryan have Tylee Ryan, but now courts are demanding that Joseph Ryan get custody of Tylee, and that he get a little bit of extra time to make up for the time he didn't have Tylee. Lori Vallow has had Joseph Ryan stalked and attacked with a taser gun, and we're going to lead up into 2009 and 2010. So later on in this case, Adam Cox, which is Lori's brother, tells us a little bit about their childhood. He says that Lori was actually an awesome sister. She was a great sibling, and that the two of them were really close at one time. They played sports together, and Adam taught her how to play basketball. He said they swam together. They just had really good times. As they got older, he said they went into high school, and Lori became a cheerleader, and that a lot of guys really wanted to go out with her, and that a lot of people wanted to be her friend. I found that curious because when I went back in the high school group that they have on Facebook, no one knew who she was. And to be honest, we've only had one person come forward and admit that they knew her. Adam said that she was loving, happy, and smiling all the time throughout her high school years. In a podcast, he mentions that and admits that they did grow up a very religious family. They were Mormon, and they went to church on a regular basis. But he says, while people believe that they were strict Mormons, he says, no, not really. I guess that depends on who you ask, because they were, in some ways, compared to most people, they were strict Mormons because they didn't believe in drinking and partying and that kind of thing. He does say that they grew up in Southern California, where they lived in a great house in a great neighborhood, and that they really and truly just had a lot of fun, just a lot of fond memories growing up. And Adam says he really enjoyed going on these fabulous vacations that his family would take. Now, Lori Vallow is all grown up into this beautiful woman, but she's been married 4 times, 3 divorces under her belt, and major drama going on. She has some accusations of her tasering her ex-husband, stalking him, and she's not doing well with working with the court. Just a little bit ago, in July 15th of 2009, Tylee's guardian says that this fight over Tylee is a highly dramatic and emotional custody suit. And she believes that this is starting to take a huge toll on the now 6-year-old Tylee Ryan. She wrote, quote, "I suspect her medical and emotional state has been adversely affected by the sustained level of conflict in the many trials and legal proceedings in this case," end quote. She explained that Tylee was in need of a legal advocate. Tylee's emotional well-being is not being fully examined or explained to the court. Now that's key, guys. So here we go. We have them going through this, and Mary's trying to tell them she sees something majorly wrong here with Tylee, but the court's not seeing the entire picture. And so all these distractions that Lori's creating might be something that she does on purpose, because that takes your eye off of what's really going on. So this explains what we're dealing with now with Lori. She's seems to be, in my opinion, an excellent manipulator. And we know that Joseph during this time is required to pay $1,500 a month in child support. But we know that he also purchased the life insurance from the last podcast. Finally, the courts are giving Lori a finger pointing, and Joseph Ryan is starting to get more time with his daughter. In fact, they give him a few weekends, plus tack on a few more days for the lost time that he had. This famous picture of Tylee with her father, Joseph Ryan, was taken in 2009. He was taking her to Mary Poppins. You can see here where he mentions it's bomb-free night in New York City. And the shirt that she's wearing is related to that trip. And after this, Joseph Ryan actually posted several pictures on his Facebook of his daughter Tylee, and he seems or appears to be very proud of her. Also, around this time, Charles' father passes away, and there's something I wanted to just mention to you guys is they do have a book going around that's attached to their family that speaks on end times. So I'll leave it at that. So around 2010, Julie Rowe is getting her teaching certificate from the University of St. Mary. She's married to her husband Jeff, and they have 3 children and live in the Midwest. The children's names are Ethan, Spencer, and Aubriana. Now, this is important, guys. So Julie Rowe was raised in a military-dependent family, and they lived so many places. Utah, Texas, California, Washington State, New Jersey, Hawaii, upstate New York, Northern Virginia, Kansas, Arizona, and Germany, just to name a few. So this woman that has some very controversial teachings, her hobbies, guys, she loved camping and recreational activities with her family, attending her children's athletic events and music concerts, at least back then. According to her, her interest in reading was history, geography, science, and a variety of other subjects, which she won't mention, most likely energy, magic, and long lost doctrines attached to the LDS. At this point in her life, she's still active within the LDS. She's not been excommunicated, not yet. And one of her biggest interests is to do the family works within the temple. We all know about this. This is something that a lot of LDS people do. She details herself on her website as having a passion for ministry work and strong testimony of the importance of spreading the good word. She's very grateful for the tender mercies of the Lord. She says the Lord has been very repentant of many. But around this time in her life, she's quite normal, as you can put normal for Julie. She hasn't gotten into this strange crowd that will later be number one in the media for a while. And to me, she seems to be, focused in the right places. Her family, her husband, and just enjoying life. At least until the near future, when something drastic happens and changes all that. Around the same time, Chad Daybell has now written a series. It's about the apocalypse, the future, claiming to be fiction. But in reality, later he'll say this is non-fiction. The series is called Standing in Holy Places. He wrote in a blog about this in 2015, yes. So let me read a little bit from that blog. He mentions that in 2005, he was writing about the deplorable future conditions in America. It seemed ludicrous to even consider. At that time, people were buying bigger houses and buying new cars, and he thinks everyone was prospering. He mentions the Middle East was relatively calm, and this is after the execution of Saddam. He mentions that during that time, thinking that a group like ISIS gaining power seemed highly unlikely, while Russia and China were keeping low profiles. The United States was seemingly in control of the world. And he said that he saved an article from that time where George W. Bush visited the Wall Street and hailed the strong state of the economy, which I told you guys back then was not true. This was them lying to the public. Chad admitted that he was dragging his feet during this time to finish these novels. Important to note, guys, he said that one morning he was traveling to Manti Pageant, where he said his company had a booth. And this booth sold books to the visitors there. And we've already heard this story. This is a story where he's going to say he passed a McDonald's and that he's seen this vision, a temple in the background. He says that he sees the Americas actually fall to a fallen state. He says it was suddenly a different time. I saw thousands of tents in those fields just before a mountain, and that they were clearly organized into blocks and wide pathways passed between them. So here you go, guys. So around 2005, he's saying this is when he's starting to have these visions of these white tents. He was in such a deep state and this vision, he nearly swerved off the road, he said. And that's what brought him back to present day. And all those empty fields were now just empty fields. No more white tents. No more families struggling in a horrid time. He says, quote, I took it as a message that I needed to get to work on the great gathering, end quote. In fact, he claims that the cover on that book or that series where a young girl is in a wheat field is similar to what he was shown that day. He even claims that as he worked on that novel, he would have glimpses of the Oval Office, but he would only see the back of the U.S. president's chair. He says he never saw his face, but I heard his speaking. At this point in Chad Daybell's life, he's seeing the future, the apocalypse. the future of him being part of something very special. He sees the New Jerusalem being built near the area he lives in. He sees the white tents and blocks of tents that create a subdivision of what will later be known as the 144,000, the Church of the Firstborn. And it's not until he starts really releasing this series and talking to people about this series that he feels confident enough to share it so publicly. And each person that reads this series, when they reach out to him and tell them that they're expecting more to come, well, that just fuels the fire in his brain. Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, is really starting to get hot and heavy into the comedy. He creates a YouTube page. He even performs in Iraq for our soldiers in 2010. Moving into 2011, Michael James, a name you'll find familiar because he's attached to the Preparing the People, joins Facebook. Him and his wife, Nancy Payne. Preparing the People will have a huge part to play later on with this case, but at the time, this is a multimedia service meant mainly for the Mormons, and they set it up to where you can actually on this website they say that you can view their dreams and visions for free, but they also offer courses that you can pay for, and they say that the funds that they get from this, like subscriptions and that sort of thing, supports the podcast production. And it also gives you access to Preparing a People events of the future. So firesides, this means where you sit by the fire and talk, and you'll see videos all around where they actually do that. They sit around this fire and talk about dreams and visions and predictions of the future. They have special presentations, video podcasts, and 210 gospel doctrine lessons. So for the 210 hours, it's only $5 a month up until 2019. And they continue to load new, information monthly. And they actually start drawing a lot of people attached to this case, like Chad Daybell, Julie Rowe, Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, Jason Mao, Hector Sosa, Serena, Nicole, and so on. In 2011, the court orders Alex to pay Joseph Ryan $5,000. This is in restitution, and also Alex Cox is placed on probation. At this time, supposedly, Alex Cox has been excommunicated from the church, but he continues to push his comedy career, and he's still talking with Lori, but he's not as close as you know him to be to his sister until later. Meanwhile, people that are not quite associated with the Chad Daybell group, around April 11th of 2011, there are conferences by Neil L. Anderson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles talking about the second coming, and they believe it's near in the future. So you can check this out at churchofjesuschrist.org. Now, don't quote me exactly on these dates of these books, because doing this much research, this was a vast amount of things to research, including people and, religion. It was a lot of work. So around April of 2011, the 5th book of the series, Standing in Holy Places, has come out. So it's The Renewed Earth. It's published at Chad Daybell's publishing company, which he has started up again. Can't give you the date exactly. So in this book, the description says, in the final days before the second coming of Christ, a showdown is looming in Jerusalem between two apostles and a coalition army as the Jews hurry to complete their holy temple. The plagues mentioned in the book of Revelation continue to be poured out on the inhabitants of the world. But Many key events, such as the resurrection of the righteous dead and the return of the city of Enoch, await the saints as they prepare to meet their king and usher in the millennium. Chad says that this was the fifth and final novel of the Standing in Holy Places series. It paints a vivid picture of exciting prophesied events that still must occur before the second coming. And he reaches out to the LDS saying, if you have an interest in what awaits the members of the LDS Church, this series should definitely be on your reading list. Something he quotes in most of his little descriptions. Something you want to take note of is the Jewish calendar will play a significant role in the events surrounding Chad Daybell and Lori later on in this case. I've been trying to research everything about that. I don't really know it that well, but I'll try to put in what I do know. Just know, for Mormons in general, the month of September means something very special. And as for the Jews, it does in some aspects. So remember, when you hear September, there's something attached to that in some way. So I might have to come back with the Jewish calendar later. So here we are around June 17, 2011. We continue to see things come out about the child support attached to Tylee. So here is one of those letters. Joseph writes, I saw something about child support being deducted from Sakara pay, but it hasn't been taken out of my pay. Have they sent you any updates on the status? I'm trying to avoid overpayment as we have in the current final order that has still not been resolved. I really want to get all the child support resolved so we don't have more ill will over it. And you can tell here that Joseph is worried about the money. It's starting to cost him a lot. And we've heard this several times. And so we know if Lori catches wind that Joseph Ryan is starting to hit rock bottom, this is going to, in my opinion, on researching her, this will only promote or fuel the fire for her to continue pushing, because that's her goal. Get Joseph Ryan out of her life. All she wants is the child support, nothing more. And interestingly, he suggests that, let's keep everything from turning into a disaster if we can. That's a quite different response than expected, considering what Lori would say Joseph is like. Moving a month forward, around July 27th of 2011, an early notice of psychological issues for Lori Vallow. So Lori calls and cancels a July 30th court-ordered psych eval appointment. She says that her sister in another state just gave birth to a baby with a medical complication. Lori tells the court that she's leaving town to go be with her sister. And sadly, guys, I wanted to do more details on this, but I haven't had time. Now, get this. So this scheduled psych eval is in relation to a custody case concerning Charles Vallow's two sons. And I do have more on this, but I didn't put it in here for some reason. And I might have got a little bit mixed up because Lori, Charles, and Charles' ex-wife, they end up having this complication that I'm not certain how I want to approach that here. So I'm going to kind of mention it just in case I forgot to put it in my timeline. Lori suggested that the kids could sleep, Charles' sons could sleep with her kids. But somehow, she makes an accusation, a very strong accusation, that one of the boys might have did something with Tylee. Remember, Lori Vallow is a very jealous type. And if she wants somebody out of her life, she will create a situation in order to get them out. This is something I've learned, and I'm pretty certain I am correct on. I feel like Lori Vallow might have been jealous of Charles Vallow's ex-wife. Now, I usually don't put that kind of stuff in here, that kind of speculation, but I feel pretty confident this is what brings on this very concerning accusation against Charles' son. It also explains a lot of Lori, of what you see her do later. It helps you understand, because a lot of people are like, what the heck is going on? She's supposed to be this great mother, has got her life together. How is this suddenly happening? Well, guys, it's not. Lori Vallow has always had struggles with jealousy. And when she wants something, she wants it at any cost. And to be quite honest with you, seeing these kind of things on court papers when she's with Charles, divorcing Joseph Ryan and having issues with Charles' son, it's quite interesting to me that Charles is thinking at this time. He's not really thinking, and he doesn't see the early signs of trouble. And he's about to wear those same shoes that Joseph Ryan wore a few years later. So make sure, guys, you know that Lori Vallow cancels her appointment. I'm sorry, guys, the psych eval several times. So once in October, then in the summer, and then finally August 1st of 2011, she finally shows up for a psych eval. Also, around July 31st of 2011, and I hope I have these dates correct on this one. Just know it's around this time frame that Lori Vallow is known as a flight risk. And I remember her female, I can't remember her name, defense attorney stood by her side saying all these great things, that she was a great mom, this and that. And she suddenly quit once, and I think it's because she must have, I would love to know why, but my speculation was she must have realized that Lori had a lot of background, but who knows why she quit. Okay, guys, we're starting to get into some really interesting things from here on, and it's going to be hard for me to put this in order. So, guys, don't forget we have these faces that still matter. They continue to be missing. We have Jasmine, Kira Coles, Dulce, Monkey, oh my gosh, Suzanne Morphew, Aisha, and I'm really wanting to push Jasmine Robinson because I just really feel like she doesn't have anything behind her. I want to ask you guys, if you are a subscriber, double check and make sure that you're still subscribed. If you're not a subscriber and you like my videos, please do subscribe. Don't forget to like and thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up this video. I love you guys, and I want to say thank you so much for everything that you guys do, and I'll see you guys soon.